I didn't even expect a party. Not candles, not cake, not even a text. Just maybe dinner. A call. A hey, happy birthday. Instead, I got silence. Not even the kind you wrap with love or peace. The kind that feels like you don't exist. Like you were a mistake someone forgot to erase from the family photo. I sat alone that evening on the edge of my mattress, still on the floor, because after 2 years of renting this apartment, I still couldn't afford a proper bed frame. The plate of leftover spaghetti I made for myself was lukewarm and uninspired, a near-perfect match for the mood. I scrolled and scrolled. Group chat, dead. Mom's texts, empty. Dad hadn't called in months. And my sister, Alina, had gone radio silent for 2 days. She always called before she needed something. I wasn't bitter. I told myself that like a mantra, over and over. I wasn't bitter, just disappointed. But then something happened. Around 10:47 p.m., I heard my phone buzz. It was a photo. From a mutual friend. It was blurry, chaotic, and loud with laughter. And in the center of the frame, under a giant golden happy birthday balloon arch, stood my little sister, Alina. In my apartment, holding a glass of champagne, surrounded by people, smiling, and there it was, in the background, my couch, my shelves, the ivy vines I hung last summer with tiny LED fairy lights, the Polaroid wall I spent hours building from scratch. They were in my home. They'd thrown her a surprise party in my home on my birthday. I didn't cry. It was a weird thing to realize, sitting there, blinking at the screen. I expected tears, or rage, or maybe that heavy, throbbing lump in my chest that usually warns of one. But I felt empty, like I had already used up all my grief on this family years ago. What bothered me wasn't just that they forgot my birthday. It was the planning, the coordination, the effort. Someone had made that balloon arch. Someone had ordered food. There were speakers, decorations, a cake. I saw the corner of it in the photo. Someone had a key. I got up and checked my front door. The spare was missing from the lockbox. Alina had used it, or Mom, or both. They hadn't even asked. The next morning, I got a group text. Thanks everyone for making last night so special, so grateful. Alina, of course, I didn't reply. Then came the individual pings. Mom, Alina's party was perfect. You were amazing for letting us use your place. Alina, hope you don't mind. We cleaned up after Aunt Rosa. Sweetheart, you should have stayed. Everyone was asking for you. Stayed? I wasn't even invited. So I did what any rational person would do. I went ghost. I stopped responding. I didn't answer calls. I left chats on read. I didn't post. Didn't like. Didn't comment. And it worked. For 2 days there was silence again, but this time it was mine. I chose it. Until day 3. Alina messaged again. Hey, you're mad? LOL, it was just a party. You weren't even using the place that night? Don't be dramatic. She always said that when I stood up for myself. Don't be dramatic. I screenshotted everything. Her texts, the party photos, the cake, my apartment, the key box. Then I started planning, because if they thought I was the quiet one, if they thought forgetting my birthday meant forgetting me, they were about to remember, very, very loudly. Monday came, and with it, the usual gray drizzle. Outside my apartment window, that specific kind of rain that doesn't pour, doesn't thunder, but soaks everything in silence. Like it was made to match moods. I didn't go to work. Not because I was too sad. I wasn't. I was watching. Every move. I'd placed a tiny $19 smart camera near the coat rack 2 months ago, after a package had gone missing. I'd forgotten about it until last night, and now I was sitting with a cup of reheated coffee, scrolling through time-stamped footage. Thursday, 4:12 p.m. Mom entering, holding grocery bags. 4:17. Alina follows, already talking loud and smiling. 4:35. 3 of her friends arrive. 6 baon. Party setup in full swing. 7 now. Guests. It wasn't just a few people. It was a full event. They moved my plants, rearranged my art, unplugged my computer. They even used my lavender-scented candles, the ones I'd been saving for when things felt good again. At 9:22 p.m., Mom made a toast. She stood next to Alina, her hand around her shoulder, and said, "To the light of our lives." That's what she said. She looked at my sister, in my apartment, wearing my sweater, and called her the light of our lives. Like I wasn't even a flicker. That was the moment the bitterness ignited into something else entirely. Not rage, not sadness. Strategy. By Tuesday, I'd drafted the plan in my head. Phase 1, silence, no engagement, no reply, no apology accepted. Phase 2, distance. I packed a suitcase, not because I was going somewhere, not yet, but because I wanted them to wonder. I took my spare key from Mom's purse during brunch the week before the party. I still had it. They didn't know. Then I went to the leasing office and requested a lock change, citing unauthorized access. The woman behind the desk raised an eyebrow but nodded politely. "We'll get someone in by Thursday." "Make it Wednesday," I replied, with a straight face. "You got it." That night, I posted a single photo to my socials, a picture of an empty living room. The caption, "Sometimes peace is just locking the door." Within minutes, the messages started flowing in. "Wait, are you moving?" "Girl, what happened? Wasn't that Alina's party? Is this shade or am I reading too much into it, lol?" I didn't answer. Silence speaks louder in the right echo chamber. Wednesday arrived. The locksmith came. I watched as the lock was replaced. Key codes reset. The box removed. When he left, I stood at the door for a full minute, just staring at the new doorknob. It was mine now. Again. Not borrowed, not shared. I turned off the lights, made tea, and waited. Right on cue, at 7:48 p.m., the doorknob rattled. A pause. Then, again. Knock, knock. "Babe." "It's me. Let me in." "Alina." I said nothing. Knock, knock. Harder now. "Seriously, I left my makeup bag here from the party. Can you open up?" I picked up my phone, filmed the door, captured the jiggling knob. Her voice. "Are you locking me out now?" "Really? God, you're such a child." Still, I said nothing. I watched her storm off through the peephole, her high heels clicking sharply against the hallway tiles. Then I smiled. Let her wonder what else I'd changed. Let her wonder when, or if, I'd unlock more than the door. By Friday, my silence had morphed into something so thick it felt tangible. I wasn't just ignored anymore. I was absent. And that's what scared them. They didn't know where I was. They didn't know how I felt. And most terrifying of all, they didn't know what I planned to do next. That afternoon, I walked 2 blocks down to a small, independent print shop tucked behind a laundromat. I knew the owner, Janine. She liked me because I always returned her book recommendations. "Hey, can I get 15 color prints?" I asked, sliding a USB stick across the counter. She took it, raised an eyebrow. "Oof, party pics?" I nodded. "Yeah, I just need to leave a few surprises." I started with my mom. On Sunday, she invited me over for ice cream, her go-to tactic for emotionally avoiding a conversation. She sat across the table, nervously spooning Rocky Road like we weren't orbiting the elephant in the room. "So, how's everything at the apartment?" she finally asked. "It's fine. Quiet." She smiled, too relieved. "That's good. You know, I was thinking, maybe next year we could do something for your birthday. We didn't really do much this time, and—" "You mean anything?" I interrupted, voice calm. "I wasn't even invited, Mom." She blinked. "It wasn't about that, sweetheart. It just sort of happened." Alina was feeling low, and we thought cheering her up at my expense. Silence. The ice cream melted between us. I reached into my tote and slid a printed photo across the table, one from the party. Alina blowing out candles, my bookshelf behind her, my favorite mug on the counter. "That's my home, right?" "Yes." "So you used my key, rearranged my furniture, threw a party on my birthday, and now you're here, offering Rocky."
"Road and guilt management?" She looked down at the table like it might save her. "I didn't think you'd mind." I laughed. Not hard, just enough to show teeth. "You didn't think at all." Then I stood, calm, polite, but with heat behind.
The eyes. "Next time you need something from me, write it down. Maybe you'll remember." I left the rest of the photos in the mailbox. Phase 3 began on Monday. I stopped at Alina's apartment with a small pink envelope. She opened the door half-heartedly, probably thinking I came to finally make peace. "Can we please not do this anymore?" She sighed. "It's been 2 weeks." I handed her the envelope. "What's this?" "Just a heads up." She opened it slowly. Inside was a printout of the contract she signed when she borrowed my car last year to go to Palm Springs with her ex. She never gave it back. She just claimed I wasn't using it anyway. Now, I had filed for repossession. That evening, she posted a story. Some people are so petty when you're thriving. She tagged no one, but she didn't have to. The family group chat had been suspiciously quiet. Normally, it was a stream of updates from Aunt Rosa's cooking attempts, Cousin Darian's unsolicited gym selfies, and Alina's endless selfies labeled with "You Boss Baby Energy" or some variation of a filtered latte. But now, radio silence. Until Thursday night. Mom. "Hey everyone. Big dinner this Saturday at our place. Family-only potluck style." The words family only hit harder than expected. I stared at them, my thumb hovering above the Leave Group button, but paused. Not yet. I wasn't done. Alina chimed in, predictably. "Alina, I'll bring wine and dessert, unless someone's still salty." That was it. No name, no direct call-out, but the passive aggression was signature, Alina, I didn't respond. I didn't even react. Instead, I started compiling. Friday afternoon, I walked into my boss's office at the nonprofit I'd worked for the last 2 years. Her name was Celeste. She'd always liked me, and more importantly, she hated people who stole credit. I handed her a folder. I wanted you to see something before it goes public, I said. This is the grant proposal for the community wellness grant we submitted last year. She blinked. Okay, we got that grant. Yes, I nodded, pulling out another document. And this is the version my sister submitted under her name, word for word, for a separate startup funding competition. Her eyes narrowed. She flipped pages, her jaw clenched. She's not even in this field. Correct. I slid her a flash drive. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I just thought, if our funders happen to see similar wording in another grant recipient's materials, they might be disappointed. Later that night, I posted a short clip on my personal, locked Instagram. A boomerang of my laptop screen opened to Alina's wellness startup website, proudly displaying my words, my research, my ideas. Caption: Funny how some people find success with other people's homework. I knew it would get out. That was the point. The dinner went on without me. I knew because my cousin live tweeted it. Alina crying in the bathroom. No context, just wine and tears. 9/10 entertainment. Mom just said, I thought she was your twin flame. Girl, what? Whole family acting like she didn't just steal someone's career LMAO. Then the group chat lit up. Mom, Alina's had a rough night. Not sure what you've been doing, but it's cruel. Me. Truth isn't cruel. It's just louder than your denial. Aunt Rosa. Wait, is this about the grant? Darian. She plagiarized? Uncle Pete. I told y'all she was sneaky when she borrowed my credit card in 2019. By midnight, half the family was divided. The other half was silent. Alina, of course, left the group. Saturday morning, I woke up to a knock at my door. I didn't open it, but I heard her crying, muffled, exhausted, cracking. You don't get to do this to me, she sobbed. You don't get to ruin me just because you're bitter. I sat on the other side of the door, calm, steady. You ruined yourself, I said through the wood. I just made sure no one looked away this time. She stopped crying. I heard her exhale, hard, like she wanted to scream. Then silence. Then footsteps. Then nothing. The Monday after the family dinner fallout, I arrived at work and found a manila envelope on my desk. No label. No return address. Just a thin black line across the seal. Our director's signature style. I opened it. Inside, a handwritten note from Celeste. You were right to speak up. We're nominating you for the state-level Innovation Fellowship. It's not just about what you created. It's what you endured, and how you still chose to build. Proud of you. Keep rising. I stared at the letter for what felt like hours, rereading the words. Not just what you created, but what you endured. For the first time in years, I felt like someone had actually seen me. Not the version edited for convenience, but the real version. The one left out of birthday parties and erased from photo albums. The one who built quietly, survived loudly, who didn't shatter, but sharpened. That afternoon, I got a text from Dad. Just one sentence. Proud of how you're handling all this. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had stayed out of the drama for the most part, until now. Maybe someone had finally told him the full story. Or maybe he'd just decided which daughter was easier to stand beside when the noise faded. Either way, I didn't reply. Some acknowledgments arrived too late to feel real. That night, I received a DM. From a woman named Corinne McAllister, senior editor at Thrive magazine, a digital publication that spotlighted women in community leadership. I read about your grant project through your director. Your story, and your words, stayed with me. Would love to do a feature. Your voice deserves a wider platform. I stared at her message. It didn't feel real, but it was. I wrote back, just 2 words. Let's talk. A week later, Alina posted a selfie in a soft-lit room with puffy eyes and a vague caption. Healing, growing, protecting my peace. She had quietly shut down her fake startup, deleted the website. Her social profiles had shifted to cryptic positivity and wellness quotes. The kind you post when you're trying to look fine, but your world's cracking at the edges. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. The universe had finally turned. Up the volume. On the day the article dropped, the woman they forgot, how she reclaimed her voice and her work, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. You really had to go public? It was Alina. I didn't speak right away. I let her sit in her own question, let her hear her own bitterness echoing back. No, I said finally. I didn't have to. I chose to. You're acting like I ruined your life. No, I replied. You made my life smaller. You convinced everyone I didn't need space. And when I finally asked for it, you took more. She went quiet. Alina, I said, the story isn't about you. That's the part that hurts you most, isn't it? Click. She hung up. 3 hours later, I received an email. Subject line. Apartment lease renewal. Updated terms. I opened it and nearly laughed. It was from the landlord. Apparently, someone, Alina, had complained that I'd changed the locks without notifying her. She had pretended to still be on the lease. She never was. I'd had that lease revised a year ago, quietly, when she moved out, but left some of her junk behind. So I responded. Alina is not, and has never been, a legal tenant. If she returns to the premises without my consent, I will file for trespassing. Thank you. Then I forwarded a copy to Alina. No text, no emojis, just the document, just the truth. By evening, the article had over 38,000 shares. People tagged me, quoted me, messaged me, and all I did was sit on my balcony, sipping hot tea, watching the sky burn orange as the sun dipped low. In my apartment. On my terms. With no one else's music blasting. No balloons hung without permission. No one calling me dramatic. Just me and the peace I built from the silence they gave me. The days that followed were unnervingly quiet. No calls, no group chat explosions, no cryptic subtweets from Alina. Just stillness. Which is exactly why I didn't trust it. Alina never let things end on someone else's terms. She hated unfinished battles, especially ones she didn't win. If there was even a sliver of control left to grab, she'd take it. Or at least try to. So when I saw her name pop up on my phone Friday morning, I let it ring. Then she called. Again, then she texted, I need to see you. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. It wasn't angry. It wasn't sarcastic. It wasn't even manipulative. It was small. I met her in a public cafe. Neutral ground. No history. No memories. No walls she'd once crossed. She was already there when I arrived. Sweater too big, hair pulled back in a low bun, no makeup. She looked like a girl who had finally run out of mirrors to lie to. When she saw me, she stood up like she didn't know if she should hug me or beg me not to leave. I gave her neither. We sat. She didn't speak right away, just stirred her untouched coffee. Her nail polish was chipped. That told me more than anything she might say. So, I said, folding my hands, what is it you need? I messed up. The words came out in one breath. No build-up, no dramatics. I know. I didn't mean for it to get that bad. You meant for it to be convenient. That's worse. She blinked, hard. Her hands trembled slightly. I didn't know how to stop. Everyone just kept praising me. It felt good. You mean it felt good to be me? I corrected. She looked down. I wasn't trying to erase you. I don't know. You always made things look easy. Even when we were kids. That's because you never looked closely enough to see the effort. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. I'm not here to console you, Alina. I'm not here to help you feel better about what you did. You made your choices. I made mine. And we both live with them. I want to fix it. Fix what? I asked calmly. The party you threw in my apartment without asking? The career you tried to copy? The family you let believe I was selfish for finally drawing a line? All of it. That's when I finally softened. But not for her. For me. Because I'd carried her weight for too long. And I was tired. I needed to say this. Alina, this isn't about you needing forgiveness. It's about you learning what happens when someone stops being your safety net. I'm not your fallback. I'm not your extra. I'm not your background character. I'm done playing the role you assigned me. Silence. She looked like she might cry again, but didn't. So, what now? Now? I stood, picked up my coat. Now you find out who you are when you don't have me to copy. I left her there, with the untouched coffee and the hollow applause of a world that had finally gone quiet around her. That night, I got one final message. Alina. You're right. I don't know who I am without you, but I'm gonna try. No lies, no excuses. Just truth. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, that was enough. But I still didn't reply. Because closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's a boundary that holds. It was a Sunday morning when the article hit the national front page. I hadn't expected it. Not really. The Thrive feature had gone viral slowly, picked up by a few community blogs, shared on Twitter, stitched on TikTok. Then someone forwarded it to a columnist at The Atlantic, who ran a short piece titled, Not Just the Sister. When women are expected to stay silent while being replaced. By the end of the week, I was getting interview requests from 2 podcasts, 1 small radio station, and a nonprofit in Chicago that wanted me to speak on emotional erasure in sibling dynamics. It felt surreal, like watching a version of myself move through the world I never thought I'd access. Not the forgotten girl, not the placeholder, not the one they remembered after the celebration. but the one who rewrote her role from silence. I didn't go back home much, but that day, I had to. Mom had invited me over for lunch, said she wanted to talk. The invitation was stiff, cautious, typed with an uncomfortable level of formality. Still, I went. For closure. The house looked smaller somehow, or maybe I had just gotten taller, in the ways that counted. Mom opened the door. She looked tired, but not in a cruel way. In a real, aging, I thought I knew my children kind of way. She hugged me. It was brief. We didn't talk about the past, not directly. But during lunch, she said, "I read the article. Twice." I nodded, said nothing. "I didn't know it was like that for you, all those years." "You didn't want to," I replied. She sighed, set her fork down, looked at me not like a daughter, but like a woman she'd finally met for the first time. "You deserved better." That was all I ever needed to hear. I didn't cry. I just nodded and kept eating. Before I left, she handed me a small box. It was old, wrapped in ribbon that had faded from blue to gray. "Your grandmother left this in her attic. It was labeled with your name. I don't know why we never gave it to you." I opened it on the train home. Inside was a gold necklace with a single word etched into the pendant, "Seen," and beneath it, a note, handwritten in soft cursive. "To my girl who always watches from the corner. I see you. I always did. Wear this when you feel invisible. But know, the day will come when you won't need it anymore." "Grandma," I pressed the pendant into my palm and felt it like a second heartbeat. 3 months later, I moved cities. New job, new place, new locks. I bought a real bed, with a headboard and everything. I made friends with the barista down the block who remembered my name after day 2. I danced in the kitchen while cooking late-night pasta. I even started painting again, something I hadn't done since Alina borrowed one of my canvases and never gave it back. And on the wall of my new apartment, hung by the window, was a single frame. Inside, a photo of me, from the Thrive. Shoot. Head held high, hands crossed, laughing, genuinely. The caption at the bottom read, "You don't have to set yourself on fire just to keep the family warm." And for the first time in years, I flipped the light switch on in a place I called mine, and felt no shadow trailing behind.